Hello everyone and welcome back to Royville in 4-color one-shot. My name is Stefan and I wanted to do something special today since it's St. Patrick's Day. I started looking into my PC, my personal collection, and I didn't really see anything that totally fit with the day. However, I did have some green issues, we'll just say. And so I decided to do this one. The Mighty Thor, number 364. Thor goes green. So this one is written and drawn by the great Walter Simonson, and his run on Thor is by far probably my favorite. This one, however, gets a little kooky. The issue came out in February of 1986, I believe. And it starts with a lot of basically things coming to a head from older issues. Odin is missing, presumed dead, and Frigga needs to get everyone together for an all thing as they need to figure out who is going to run Asgard. She is very distressed, and also distressed are the Warriors 3 and Sif. They also don't know where Thor is at. He should be here for such a big event. He was transporting some refugees that they had saved from Hell back to Midgard, Earth. Now, he's missing. Beta Ray Bill, a newer character, a creation of Walter Simonson, shows up looking very much like Thor himself. They think that it's him. They think that it's Thor mistakenly, but it's quickly decided that it is not. And he says that Thor should have been back. He had his goats and the chariot. He should have been back way before I arrived. Everyone is a little worried about this, as with Odin gone and Thor missing, who's going to assume the throne? Well, somebody has an idea about that, but we'll get into that in a bit. So where is Thor, by the way? Let's head down to Midgard, to a small little burb called New York City, where Thor is a frog. Yep, the great mighty Thor, blonde hair, blue-eyed Thor, is a frog. Now, granted, he's a larger frog than normal, but a frog nonetheless, and he's trying to contemplate who could have done this to him. Well, who's the first person we always think of with such kind of villainy and trickery? He's assuming that it's a Loki, which most likely is probably correct. So he decides that he's got to get some help, and he goes to the Avengers. Also, I did like that Walter Simonson has decided to translate the conversations of frogs and other animals for us so that we can figure out what's going on. He goes to Avengers Mansion and breaks in. Jarvis sees this large frog, shoos him out, and that's about the end of that. He can't wait for the Avengers to get there because he knows that this all thing is coming and that he's got to be there or else some treacherous plot will unfold. While he's hopping around, he finds another frog by the name of Puddle Gulp. And Puddle Gulp is getting attacked by the rats. And Thor, being who he is, even as a little frog, says, I'm not going to let this guy go down. I'm going to help. So he hops into action. Pun intended. Now, Thor as a frog is larger, stronger, faster than all other frogs. So he makes short work of these rats. And Puddle Gulp is so happy and excited for it that he asks who he is. And he says that I am Thor. Odd name for a frog, Puddle Gulp says. But for saving me, you must come back with me and meet our king. So Thor decides that, he's offering hospitality. I better go back. And as they do, they both realize that Thor possesses powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal frogs. I kind of like that line. And as they're getting there, they see once again that they have to cross into Central Park and to the reservoir where the frogs kind of hide, like underneath the gatehouse or something like that. And Puddle Gulp says that we can't go into the tunnels because the tunnels have dragons, and any frog that has gone in there, even the rats that have gone in there, have never come back out. So they bypass that area and get close to the frogs' homeland, and they see that the king called Glugwort, is being attacked by a number of rats, and with some of the king's guard. Interesting that these frogs have such a dynamic hierarchy. However, it's just part of the story. So he's getting destroyed by these rats, and so of course Thor is not going to let this slide. He's gonna get in there and take care of business, save the king. He does so with ease. It is the Mighty Thor at all. And the king, however, sustained too many wounds. He's going to leave this world for the great lily pad in the sky. But he tells Thor that there's a war coming, a war between the frogs and the rats. And who knows, this was so Game of Thrones. But there's a war coming between the frogs and the rats, and he will give anything if Thor will just help out. He can have his throne, he can have his daughter. Take my daughter, please, just save the frog kingdom. Well, Thor doesn't know about that, but he can't leave anybody in need. He does have to get back to Asgard, but with all of this hospitality, it's still Thor. He doesn't want to leave the frogs and have them be destroyed. He's there to protect, even if they are really, really small with a lot of warts and green. So he will head back to the homeland, the home turf of the frogs underneath the gatehouse with Puddle Gulp. So as they get there, there is a rather annoyed frog by the name of Bug-Eye. And he's not liking this whole Thor thing. We don't even know this guy. He could be one of the rats dressed in the... What? The rats in disguise? What kind of frogs are these? Well, so there's a little bit of intrigue going on between Bug-Eye and Puddle Gulp. Bug-Eye says that Puddle Gulp should have went with the king, but he didn't. And now the king's dead. The princess wants the kingdom to be saved, and she's being offered to Thor. What? Anyway, okay, so this is all going on. Thor gets it in his mind that he has to see this through. He has to help the frogs, but the rats are just too big. He needs allies. Where's he going to get allies as a frog? In the tunnels, because there be dragons. So he says that I'll be back. I'm going to go get some allies. While this is happening, we go back to Asgard, and Loki's plan is coming to fruition. The All thing is starting, and Loki decides to put the lawgiver up as Odin's right hand, his seneschal, shall we say. Not really sure how that's going to go for him. However, it seems that the lawgiver now is a very straight shooter, and he says, all right, anybody that wants to contend, please come up. We have Loki and we have Thor, and Loki's, of course, right there because he respects the power of the All thing, but Thor is nowhere to be seen. One last time, I say, Thor, you must step forward. Or if you don't, you will forever forsake your claim. Well, Thor steps forward. We see him from the back in all of his glory. Loki seems to be very confused at this. Who is this? Is it somebody polymorphed to look like Thor? Is it Thor as well, even though he's a frog? We don't know because it's not resolved by the end of the issue. Towards the end of the issue, we see that the Thor, as a frog, is now carrying in his mouth the tails of the rats. I did find it also interesting, I'm sorry, I forgot about this part, that they realize that the rats, part of the reason why Thor wants to help the frogs is because the rats are going around Central Park getting all of the rat poison into bags, and they're going to dump them in the reservoir, which would not only hurt the frogs, but also humans. What? So let me get this right. The rats are going around Central Park gathering the rat poison into bags so they can dump it like some corporate evil billionaires into the reservoir to poison. Yeah, I guess that's what's happening. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm in. So, all these plans are starting to work and get into action. The frogs are getting ready, and Thor is trying to get his allies, going to find the dragons. Well, much to Thor's understanding, because he thought that this was the case, the tunnels lead to the sewers, and what's in the sewers of New York? We all know. Alligators. Those are the dragons. Well, Thor knew this. He assumed it was the alligators, for he had heard stories of it, as we probably all have in the real world. Not on Earth 616, where this takes place, in our Earth. However, there's an older man with a pipe, a flute pipe. And he wonders what this frog is doing here. And he starts to play. And Thor is entranced by the music, and he finds that his limbs are paralyzed and can only do an action that is commanded by the piper. And then Thor leaps at the mouths of the waiting gators. And that's where our issue ends. Is Thor going to survive? I don't know. Is this his last issue? After this, he's no more? Would you like to hear what happens next? I think this is a few issue run where Thor is still a frog. If you are interested in that, leave that in the comments. And please like, subscribe, share this video with others, especially people that like St. Patrick's Day, and comment. Other than that, I had a great time reading this issue for St. Patrick's Day, and I thought it was a lot of fun. a little weird when there was a Game of Thrones style war going on between the rats and the frogs, let alone the Machiavellian machinations of the rats. However, it is a lot of fun, and Walter Simonson really delivers with this issue. So I want to thank everybody. I want you to have a very safe and happy St. Patrick's Day. And most important, keep reading. Thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time.